Fuel cell released.
Cargo secured. Ready for departure.
Excellent. The fuel cell still needs to be latched into place once it arrives, Jack. The honor's all yours if you'd like.
I'll take care of it, Liv. I'd prefer to see the job through to the end anyway.
Okay, great. We'll see you in a bit.
Cargo drone returning in T-minus 10 seconds.
Better grab on or stay clear, Jack.
If you wish to return now, I advise taking hold of the drone. Cargo drone departing in 3, 2, 1. Firing thrusters.
The fuel cell is clear of the drive bay.
Great. We'll have some cargo clamps ready to receive it here. Surprised to see welders haven't changed all that much in 400 years.
That design is actually from a historical archive. It was the standard for most of the 23rd century. I'm afraid it's the closest approximation to a welder I could fabricate. I hope it's acceptable.
Perfectly adequate, Juno. Thank you.
Cargo inbound to destination. Decreasing speed for final descent.
Looking good, Cowboy Jack. Steady as she goes. Hookup controls are over near the cargo clamps.
Fuel cell in place and ready to be secured.
All you, Jack.
Fuel cells secured.
Copy that. I guess you'll be heading to the research facility then.
That is where we'll be able to acquire a contained biomass sample, correct?
Indeed. I'll provide further details once you're on site.
Copy that. How will this fuel cell interface with the rest of the technology here?
We've made some modifications on the receiving end, but ultimately what matters is that it can produce a strong enough burst of power to jumpstart the FTL reaction.
A duty it should fulfill admirably. At least, for a single jump.
You're approaching the biomass research facility. This is where the outbreak originated.
We're sure there's some contained biomass on hand for Jack to retrieve.
Logs indicate 1 or 2 containers should still be in storage. However, reaching them may be difficult due to the entire facility being under lockdown.
Try entrance will undoubtedly be your only way in.
Acknowledged. The facility appears to be in fairly poor condition, but there is at least some power flowing.
Due to the generator being restored.
Unfortunately, I'm still unable to access any systems further into the facility. Power flow stops at the entry terminal. It appears that the systems are outright disconnected, including the physical entry bridge. Jack, you'll need to reconnect those systems to gain entry to the facility.
Copy that. There's a room jutting into this cave. Could it be part of the biomass containment area?
Negative. The room you're seeing is part of the facility's integrity monitoring system, responsible for tracking any changes in the asteroid structure during excavation. For safety reasons, biomass containment is located much deeper in the facility.
This device looks vaguely similar to the cranes we saw in the transit hub.
Good eye, Jack. That's because it's an early version of the stasis field technology used by those cranes, as well as our cargo drones and many other systems. As you can imagine, the ability to manipulate objects without direct contact has significant advantages when dealing with the biomass.
Yes, advantages we continue to witness firsthand through Jack's grip projector.
Agreed. A scale model of the FTL drive on Dr. Harlan's ship. Was the drive developed here?
Not exactly. While the few FTL drives still in service were refitted here, the original design was actually reverse engineered from the FTL drives left behind aboard the Estrella. That was done by your former employer, in fact.
Wait, Atlas built them?
Indeed. Before the company dissolved, of course.
Effectively, 22nd century Atlas reverse engineered their own 26th century technology.
Ah, that sounds perfectly normal and not at all confusing.
I would expect nothing less from our employer, past, present, or otherwise.
Somewhat odd to leave this case empty.
It's fairly straightforward. Our work was never finished.
This appears to be some sort of focusing device. I haven't seen anything like it elsewhere on Chiron Station.
It's actually a prototype of the technology our containment units use to keep Dix pacified.
As in the technology that shorted out while Jack and I were trapped in the engineering bay.
Yes, though that was due to the power cycling abnormally. I assure you, it's usually quite stable.
Yeah, one would hope.
This bridge is currently disconnected, as part of the lockdown procedures.
Correct. The doors won't open until both sides of the bridge are fully extended.
Did they get everyone out?
According to these logs...
No. Not everyone got out.
It seems someone was emphatic about maintaining the lockdown. I'm guessing the console would have controlled the bridge.
Affirmative. I'm not seeing any backup controls in the blueprints, unfortunately. It's possible the cave contains systems not listed in the schematics. It may be worth a quick investigation.
I believe this is a manual activation switch.
It should restore power to the immediate area, as well as the rest of the research facility. Just keep in mind that you'll also be awakening any dormant biomass within.
Re-establishing main generator connection. Be advised, Class 3 power fields will become active. Dormancy will be nullified.
Hey, Jack. I know you've got this, as always, but by restoring power, we're undoing something that was put in place as a die-hard safety precaution.
We're certain this is the only place we're going to find a contained biomass?
Assuming these fragmented station logs are correct? Yes.
Well, that's reassuring.
Finalizing connection.
Connection established. Now receiving power readings throughout the facility. Jack, once you have the bridge fully extended, you should be able to access the facility proper. Though I suspect some areas may have additional security requirements.
Nora, the research director, would have done everything she could to contain the outbreak. But there is no containing it. This was an eventuality.
It's fortunate that your disagreement over priorities led you to be elsewhere when the outbreak occurred.
It's only fortunate if I'm right.
Juno, are any of the station's X3 units still active?
Not exactly. My records indicate that all X3 neural matrices were transferred off Chiron Station during the evacuation.
Well, despite everything, it's nice that at least the androids made it out.
These are auxiliary controls for the extension bridges.
Correct. They should allow you to extend the bridge now that the power is restored.
Bridge extension initiated. Bridge reconnection complete.
I'm heading back to the entry terminal.
Dr. Harlan, if these power readings are accurate, our suspicions appear confirmed.
What's that now? What suspicions?
Educated guess, rather.
Which is different how?
The ticks aren't the only form of biomass that have been evolving since your time.
Great, so what's this one do? Open doors?
Quite the opposite, in fact.
It's best if you see for yourselves.
I'm crossing into the main facility now.
Copy that, Jack.
Biomass has taken hold here.
Given that it got this far, the rest of the facility will likely be much worse.
Will the fabricator still be operational?
Yes, at least enough that Jack should be able to reboot without issue.
In the security control room, I found a casualty.
According to logs, Adler Reyes.
He must have been trying to keep the scanners running to prevent the biomass from leaving the facility.
But if someone found the scan...
They would have had to remain behind. Unfortunately, even the scanning room itself became contaminated.
You think that's how it spread to the rest of the station?
Most likely. With background contamination, the system would have had a difficult time producing accurate results. Inevitably, it failed.
Jack, you are now entering the facility's lobby. Biomass containment is located through the leftmost door.
This must be the evolved biomass form Dr. Harlan mentioned. It detects my presence, much like the other specimens encountered thus far.
We classify it as a reticulated B biomass organism, but most people just call them webs.
Aside from their namesake membrane, webs can also be recognized by an additional nodule. It should be quite distinct.
I take it you mean this abnormally bioluminescent growth.
Our best estimate is that it's some type of sensor for the web.
Get too close to the sensor, and the web expands.
Precisely. In any case, you'll need to bypass that web to reach the containment area.
Then I will search the rest of the facility for anything useful. Electrical systems here are clearly suffering from extreme damage. The lobby's directory is effectively useless.
Good thing we've got someone who knows their way around.
Always happy to be of assistance, Captain.
I was actually talking about Dr. Harlan. But thanks.
I found another casualty of the biomass. In the lobby.
Dr. Brianna Leamington.
She was one of our pathologists.
There's some kind of added security here.
Dr. Everett Harlan reporting. Authorized laboratory access.
Voice-activated authorization. That's a smart security feature.
Thank you. And you're welcome.
What sort of research were they doing here?
The director was convinced a cure was impractical. So she poured everything into containment technology.
Did she have any luck?
When I left, she had everyone working on miniaturizing the insulation cloaking from our containment unit. I'm not sure how far they got.
Biological specimens.
The director was always in here. Dissecting, testing. She was tireless.
She must have had a cast iron stomach.
One of the toughest people I have ever known.
This transparent aluminum is reinforced.
Unfortunately, that's still not enough to withstand concerted biomass growth.
These controls are running some sort of automated procedure.
The system is no longer reachable over the network. Cut off by the biomass, no doubt. It must be an old test, abandoned during the outbreak and resumed now that we've restored power.
I assume these microscopes were used to observe the biomass?
I believe so, yes.
Development of the biomass containment technology required research at the macro, micro, and even nanoscopic scales.
With these microscopes, the researchers would have been able to observe the effect of their containment technology in real time, with a more manageable sample size, of course.
It must have been a heavy responsibility to work so closely with live biomass samples.
It was not without its risks.
So, would you say it was more or less risky than intentionally infecting your own FTL drive?
If you have any less precarious solutions, Captain, I'm all yes.
Is this device used for processing biomass samples?
More or less. It's an immunoassay analyzer to ensure safety while working in the station.
So the researchers could make sure they weren't spreading infection.
Protecting against the biomass is a constant pressure, and it will continue to be, unless we find a way to eliminate it.
This web is preventing me from further exploring the labs. Perhaps there's something in this lab that could help. The glass is broken. I'm afraid your former workplace has seen better days, Doctor.
External spread was what breached the chamber.
It appears the entire facility became one contiguous test chamber.
And that too was breached.
Is this some type of emitter?
It looks to be a functional prototype. I knew they were close, but I didn't know they had moved into practical testing. The basic concept was to surround the biomass with a cloak of electromagnetic insulation, preventing energy from reaching it.
Kind of like using a blanket to smother a flame.
Indeed. The idea was to build these cloak emitters as a reactive defense against the biomass. To contain it.
That could have a wide array of tactical applications.
It's a stall at best, not a solution. I wish she could have seen that.
Is this a control interface?
That's right, for the robotic arm in the adjoining chamber. Use the holographic controls to adjust each part of the articulation.
Such versatile technology.
This still wasn't enough.
Biomass at the exit neutralized.
It's possible I failed to foresee some of the cloak emitter's eventual implications.
Sounds like your research director was on the right track.
Nora. She never gave up. I could hardly ever pull her away from her work.
Dr. Harlan, if I may interject, the local data I'm seeing implies that the director's efforts to develop cloak emitters proceeded beyond prototyping. Portable versions were installed in some of the X3 medtech shells. Several of these shells appear to have been left behind in the medical wing.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
I believe it may be possible to fit Jack with a similar device, a portable cloak emitter.
What is involved?
I'll need you to retrieve the data from one of the medtech shells here. With that, I should be able to reconstruct the portable cloak emitter's design.
Copy that. I'll see what I can find. These medical beds were used for diagnostic scans?
And to monitor potential treatments. Many of my peers focused on post-diagnosis options.
What sort of options?
Pain management, transmission reduction. Though most patients with terminal diagnosis volunteered for cure research.
Wait. There are diagnoses that aren't terminal.
If the infection is limited to the extremities and has not yet penetrated the epidermis, amputation has a roughly 40% success rate.
In emergencies, the integrated cutter, equipped by several models of the X3 shell, including Jack's, can...
No. That's enough. Forget I asked.
Let's see. Moderate store of data, but much of it could prove useful in developing a cure. Good find, Jack.
This log indicates a multitude of visitors. Some were children.
Yes. Many of the station's personnel had families. Most of their children were suitably behaved. Some were not. Still, I hope they reached safety.
I'll need to manually open this door. I assume it was shut down as another precaution?
Most likely. If the medtech shells have data we can use to reconstruct a portable cloak emitter, it will be worth the risk.
I'm entering the medical lab.
Doctor, perhaps you should step away for a moment. I'm sure there's still plenty of output data to parse before we're ready to initiate the experiment.
She's here, isn't she? Juno?
More than likely. Yes.
Who? The research director?
I can handle it, Juno.
Are you certain?
I'm not looking away.
I found another casualty.
It appears he was trying to assist right up until the end.
A further casualty of the biomass.
Dr. Jordan Desci. She specialized in pain management therapy for the infected. My suspicions were correct. They did develop a portable version of the Cloak Emitter. Unfortunately, the data contained in this shell is only partial. Jack, to complete the reconstruction, I'll need you to scan additional units.
Understood. This device indeed appears to be a portable cloak emitter.
With more data, I should be able to reconstruct its design. There should be additional medtech shells in the vicinity.
We have another casualty. This researcher seems to have been helping the other one.
Dr. Adriana Reyes.
She was too young for this.
Who was this person?
Dr. Franklin Teller. A fellow geneticist.
You knew him?
I knew all of them.
A keypad for the duct. It may provide a means to circumvent some of this biomass, if I can find the code.
A researcher and one of our anesthesiologists. It's an impossible task. Alleviating the pain of an infection, especially in later stages.
Yeah. I can imagine.
I've recovered her research. It also seems she received a message from Dr. McKenna with all of his access codes attached. Would you like me to play it?
Affirmative.
Beginning playback.
Hey, Adriana. I know I can count on you to look out for everyone. So I'm sending you my access codes. It should get you into my stuff and a few engineering areas. Spare rations, my playing cards, whatever else. If any of it helps even a little bit, please, take it. Share it. Figure it might make things a little more comfortable for you all.
Tram, prepared for departure.
Shit, I gotta go. I have no idea how to end this. Good luck. No. Goodbye.
End of message.
Could one of Dr. McKenna's codes work on that keypad Jack saw?
I believe so, yes. Jack, I'll add the code to your ARM computer.
Access to the utility ducts granted. Moving through the vents now.
Tell me something, Doctor. How long does it take
What?
for the infection to run its course?
Once it becomes fully active, usually somewhere between 3 to 5 days. But most victims opt to expedite their end.
Right. So, how does the infection work once it becomes active? I mean...
The biomass drains energy directly from your cells. Your body is in the throes of widespread cellular decay. Major organ failure follows 12 to 18 hours later. But at least by then you are not in as much pain, since the infection has likely started feeding on the electrical signals traveling through your nervous system. By day 4 you've...
Alright, I get the picture.
Liv, that's not going to happen to you.
Yeah,
Whatever it takes, we'll find a solution.
I know, Jack.
Excellent. That shell contained more data regarding the portable emitters. We'll need a good bit more to reconstruct the design, though. We still need more data. Interesting. Doctor, this shell has a log conversation regarding the director and your research.
Go ahead, Juno.
Beginning playback.
Alright, Unit 5, back to the lab. The director wants to run those simulations again.
Query. For what purpose?
I'm not sure. Dr. Harlan's ideas were intriguing, to say the least, but, well, I suppose the director knows best. Go ahead and prep the simulations. I'll join you shortly.
Acknowledge, Dr. McKenna.
Huh. So the director eventually explored your theories after all?
I didn't expect she would continue it after I left. But without the biomasses-based genetic material, it would have been as much of a dead end as containment. I just couldn't convince her.
I found another arm equipped with a Cloak Emitter, a backup safety measure.
More than likely, but that's the problem. The biomass can't be contained, no matter how many redundancies you put in place.
Controls for the nearby Cloak Emitter. Fortunately, they're still operational.
Reconstruction of the personal Cloak Emitter is nearly complete. One more scan should be sufficient. Data collection complete. Finalizing tool reconstruction. Reconstruction complete. Please visit a fabricator to install your new Cloak Emitter.
Patient chart reveals catastrophic cellular breakdown.
Most likely an internal infection that passed through the tissue.
Does that happen in every case?
Eventually, but the host is usually deceased by then.
Well, that's a relief.
In this patient chamber, a further casualty of the biomass.
Based on the logs, Dr. Chandra Miles.
She was one of the few who subscribed to my theories on the cure. I always appreciated her insight.
Cloak Emitter installation successful. This portable version is practically identical to the mounted prototypes you've been using thus far.
Excellent. A tool like this will make it much easier to get around.
Just keep in mind that its effective range had to be reduced to achieve portability. If you move too far away from your target, the tool will deactivate.
Ah. Noted.
This data includes a message from the research director, addressed to you, Dr. Harlan.
Hey, Juno.
Perhaps I could store it for a later time once we...
Juno.
Of course, Doctor. Beginning playback.
Everett? I don't know if you'll ever find this, but I wanted to get it out before... Well, before things get any worse. If you do manage to find this, well, then you know what's happened. I suppose the good news is we got the emitter deck to work. Which, if I'm not mistaken, means you owe me dinner. Everett, listen to me. I know you're going to try to put all this on yourself somehow. Make yourself believe there was something you'd have done had you been here, but it's not true. You understand? Don't go trying to carry that. We all knew developing a cure was virtually impossible. No one here was waiting to be saved. You're leaving. You're already doing everything you could do to try and stop this. I miss you, Everett. Be safe. I love you. Goodbye.
I'm so sorry, Harlan.
I too am sorry. It's clear you meant a great deal to one another.
She was a good person. She deserved a better resting place than this.
I'm back in the lobby, proceeding to biomass containment. There's another voice-activated control panel here.
Additional security for the biomass containment area. It requires the voice authorization of a high-ranking official.
Well, we've got Dr. Harlan, right? Let's get that door open.
My authorization won't be enough. We'll need someone with higher clearance.
The research director.
After a lockdown, she'd be the only one able to enter containment.
With a large enough sample of the director's vocal modulations, I should be able to synthesize her voice.
We've got a log of her final moments. That's not enough?
Unfortunately, no. And inaccurately synthesizing her voice could lock us out permanently. We'll need more vocal data.
Great. So, we're stuck then?
Pull up my personal archive, Juno. There's just one file there.
You're sure, Dr. Harlan?
Go on.
Beginning playback.
I'm not going to be able to change your mind, am I?
I just... You know I wouldn't leave unless I had...
It's okay. A cure would change everything. You're not wrong about that. I just wish...
I know, Nora. Me too. I won't be long.
That should be enough for me to synthesize the director's voice.
Do it.
This is Dr. Nora Parek. Authorized containment access.
Juno,
Yes, Doctor?
never do that again.
I'm entering what appears to be an excavation site.
You are correct. It's the only remaining route to the biomass containment area. We should be able to find our sample there.
Acknowledged.
Is this containment area where the outbreak started?
Most likely. I'll continue parsing logs to see if I can determine what happened.
I'm sure that's not necessary.
Do it. I need to know.
Of course, Doctor.
I assume these barriers were set up while construction was taking place.
Correct. Data files show a series of tunnels extending beyond the barriers.
The scale of these excavations seems to far exceed our mining efforts back on the Kronos 2.
Absolutely. Though, this excavation was done to leverage the asteroid's bulk as a protective layer against the biomass. Any valuable mineral extractions were merely a byproduct.
Does most of humanity have to live like this? Underground, so to speak?
For several generations now.
I'm sorry. We'll find a cure. We have to.
Were these excavators being used to expand the containment area?
I can't be certain, but given the advancements made in insulation cloaking technology, I imagine they would have been trying to ramp up testing or possibly even production. Undoubtedly, that would have required taking in more samples than the facility was currently equipped to contain.
Could that be what caused the accident?
Possibly. If the research team was indeed rushing to complete work on the cloaking tech, then it is possible certain containment systems were overtaxed.
I should have been here.
Then you'd be dead too. And so would we, probably.
I would still be here. For a while, at least.
I'm detecting a tick up ahead.
Would my Cloak Emitter be effective?
I believe so. And the device's range should allow you to cloak the tick before it detects you.
Cloaking successful.
All this advanced tech, and the biomass still broke containment.
Yes. This is why eliminating the biomass is our only option.
Juno, these excavators are automated?
Correct. They would have deactivated automatically as part of the lockdown.
Makes sense. Best to turn off every power source possible.
Shields at 50%. Shields at 30%.
I'm approaching the large opening. There is a conveyance system installed overhead.
That is how newly arriving containment units were transferred into main storage. Local telemetry indicates a significant biomass presence throughout the area. Containment certainly failed here.
Acknowledged. I will proceed with caution. This container must have lost power at some point. Unfortunately, it appears its contents have escaped. How certain are we that a functional container is still here?
Based on the logs, one stock container arrived shortly before the lockdown.
Hopefully, it remains intact. There is an X3 shell encased in biomass. Shall I scan its data port?
It is likely to possess details about the outbreak.
Then do it.
Data retrieved. I believe the synthetic using this shell was indeed present for the initial containment failure. I'll play the log.
Director Garrick.
Yes, Unit.
A Category 4 containment breach is in progress.
What?
Origin uncertain. Multiple ticks are unrestrained in the conveyance shaft. I am beginning to lock down.
Have any personnel had direct contact?
Several. I sacrificed my shell to prevent immediate fatality. I'm in the process of reprinting with a portable Cloak Emitter.
Alright, I'll triage the infected in the med labs.
Your SIG telemetry indicates you are not wearing a helmet. To avoid dying...
I'll find one. Just prioritize personnel evacuation, then lock down the entire containment area. Especially main storage.
Acknowledged, Doctor.
Nora, why did you...
She did her best. She tried to... No, she did help everyone. I'm sure that without her...
It doesn't matter. Without a cure, none of it matters.
Well then... we know what we have to do.
Agreed.
This large door, does it lead to the main storage area the director ordered to be locked down?
Correct. Unfortunately, any biomass samples in there won't be reachable. If they're even still contained, that is.
I cloaked one of the sensors on this web, but it's not having the same effect as before.
One of? How many sensors does this web have?
At least 4.
Then this web must have been cultivating here for some time. It's possible this is where the outbreak originated.
Unfortunately, Jack, your Cloak Emitter cannot sustain enough insulation fields to blind all of those sensors.
There must be something else we can do.
Agreed. I'll find a way to retract the web. There is an electrical transformer here. Its power field appears to be keeping all nearby biomass active.
Any chance there's a bypass hooked up to it?
Effectively? No. That subsystem has been consumed by the biomass.
Lovely.
If you can't cloak the sensors, cloak the power source.
Oh, nicely done, Jack.
That was unexpected. I'll need just a moment to further analyze the reconstructed targeting software. Ah, I see it now. The Cloak Emitter should be able to target power sources as well, as long as they're sufficiently compact.
Copy that. Proceeding through the web now. Is this the cargo bay?
Yes, and our containment unit is indeed intact.
I'm still prepping the intake system. Should be ready by the time the container gets here, though. I'm assuming we have what we need.
Readings show a full complement of ticks within. So, yes, Captain, we have what we need.
Is the unit safe to approach?
Yes, the container is fully powered and the insulation fields are active. Those ticks are pacified. I'll send a cargo drone to retrieve it as soon as the bay door is opened.
On it. Collecting these ticks could not have been easy.
The X3 synthetics did lose many shares in the process, but they performed their function.
Does this crane meet the size requirements for the Cloak Emitter?
Unlikely. However, I suspect it is more useful without insulation anyway.
Are these the controls for the bay door?
Correct.
Exterior bay door opened.
Copy that. We'll send over a cargo drone to retrieve the container. Shouldn't take too long.
Jack, we'll just need you to manually release the container once the drone has secured it.
Acknowledged. I'll head to the cargo bay. From this side, the web sensor is inaccessible. I won't be leaving that way.
Yes, that is unfortunate. However, schematics do show a maintenance deck nearby.
I'll see what I can find.
Careful, Jack. There's another form of the biomass nearby. You may have seen them before. Elongated structures with an affinity for spore dispersion.
Indeed, cysts. Their rapid regrowth, even after bursting, makes them particularly dangerous. This specimen appears somewhat different than the others I've previously encountered. It has tentacles.
Yes, I believe that particular adaptation manifested somewhat recently. The biomass has been evolving continuously since your time. Regardless, you'll want to keep your distance, if possible. There's a fair bit of data here. It should prove useful in our efforts to develop a cure. Good find, Jack. This is the administration area. Once past the next hallway, Jack, you'll be back in the cargo bay.
These controls are offline. Can this door be bypassed?
I'm afraid not. However, as a precaution, this area runs on a localized power grid. If you can find a way to restore that grid, the door should become operable.
A battery, probably for maintaining the local power grid. Unfortunately, this battery lacks power. There must be a recharge socket nearby. Now that this battery has a charge, it is emitting a power field. This web must be sensing the battery's power field.
Indeed. Any substantial power field will awaken all forms of biomass from dormancy.
Nicely done. Starting to get a feel for that Cloak Emitter, are we, Jack?
It is quite effective.
That is indisputable at this point. And it has brought us that much closer to a cure. For that alone, we should be grateful.
In this corridor, I found another casualty. 2, in fact.
Dr. Stephen Garrick and Senior Technician Avery Park.
Seems they were left behind in the evacuation.
I doubt that. If they're here, it's probably because they chose to stay.
What do you mean?
I knew these people. Every researcher here understood what an outbreak would mean, that they would have to do whatever was necessary to try and protect the rest of the station.
Jack, the cargo drone will be unable to retrieve the container until it's released from the loading pallet. There should be a release mechanism near the container.
A way to release the container?
That is correct. That access panel may be used to free the container from the pallet below.
Container released.
Confirmed. Container primed for departure.
It will need to be hooked up once it gets here, Jack. Care to give it the final touch?
I believe I would, yes. I doubt the procedure will take long.
Okay then. See you in a few.
Container departing in T-minus 10 seconds. Jack, if you're planning on accompanying the container, now would be a good time to take hold. Cargo drone is departing in 3, 2, 1. Igniting thrusters. Jack, I hope you don't mind. I've switched us to another comms channel for a moment. I have a somewhat personal question to ask you. Do you mind?
Go ahead, Juno.
Captain Rhodes, she considers you a friend, yes?
I think so, yes.
You think so?
Human social cues are often difficult to interpret, but I am nevertheless confident that the captain and I are indeed friends.
Then, how did you reach that conclusion?
In the time I have known Captain Rhodes, she has consistently demonstrated behaviors that suggest she values my company, trusts my insights, and harbors a great concern for my overall well-being.
I see.
Why do you ask?
I'm trying to discern if Dr. Harlan considers me a friend. Biometrics indicate he is still experiencing some distress, but I'm unsure if it would be appropriate for me to console him. What is your assessment?
Based on my observations, I believe Dr. Harlan considers you a friend. He will appreciate your efforts, even if he does not outwardly display it.
Thank you, Jack. I agree with your assessment. I will do what I can to help the doctor feel better. Wait, did we just become friends?
I suppose we did.
Splendid. I'll return comms to the public channel now. Cargo now approaching the dock. Beginning descent.
Hey there, Jack. Good to see you're still in one piece. Same deal as before. Hookup controls near the cargo clamps.
Container in place and ready to be secured.
Go ahead, Jack.
Biomass containers secured in place.
Copy that. System check, Juno. How did we do?
Systems nominal. Both the fuel cell and biomass container are secure and fully engaged with the ship's intake systems.
Well, Jack, looks like things are wrapped up here. No need for you to rush back, though. I'm not exactly eager to send you hurtling through time again.
Of course.
Also, Dr. Harlan could always use more data for his research, if you'd like to continue exploring the station.
Copy that, Juno. These containment units are quite effective. The ticks appear well pacified. How will we safely transfer them into the ship?
We've modified an intake unit to flush them directly into the engineering bay. It should be much safer than attempting a controlled breakout.
Slight deviation from the original accident, but for the added safety, worth it.
Jack? If you're looking for the captain, she's in the workshop with Dr. Harlan.
What is that? A motion detection system?
One of several independent sensors rigged to trigger detonation.
So, it won't release the spores until it detects something they can feed on. Jack, there you are.
Good. He's finally here.
Dr. Harlan and I were just giving this torpedo the once-over while we waited.
Learn anything useful?
Yeah, it's a death trap.
Not that that's anything he has to worry about. Now then, are we ready to begin?
Not quite yet. There are still a few things I'd like to look into.
Sure thing. Just let us know when you're ready to get started.
Try not to be all day about it.
Apollo, is this one of your AI cores?
Affirmative. Once I became aware of the salvage attempts on the Estrella, I began disabling intruding equipment with a suite of electronic countermeasures. Apparently, this core was taken before my defenses were in place.
Well, now that you're here, will you disable whatever protocols it's using to prevent access?
Negative. It is still imperative that I minimize the distribution of the Estrella's classified technology. Of course, should this particular element prove relevant in stopping the biomass, I will lift the restriction at that time.
Very well.
What can you tell us about the biomass, Doctor?
Very little. Far less than one would hope.
Humanity has lived with this organism for 400 years. We must have learned something.
Well, we know it's not actually a single organism. Once it's released into an environment, the biomass immediately begins evolving. It's diversifying into a variety of distinct species, all stemming from the same base element.
Then it's an entire ecosystem.
That is the prevailing theory.
What about its origins? Where did the biomass come from?
That is the more troubling question, isn't it? We know the Astrea carried the biomass into this timeline, but as to its true origins, we only have theories and conjecture. No conclusive facts. In truth, I'm not sure it's a question I need answered. Whoever engineered the biomass, they either still exist or they don't. Both possibilities are equally terrifying.
Dr. Harlan, how well do you understand the internal mechanism of these bio-torpedoes?
The mechanism? Only enough to know that as part of its detonation process, it catalyzes the base genetic material within to create a stream of infectious spores.
Yes, I have witnessed that event firsthand.
But you are certain you have seen a torpedo prior to that stage, one that has not detonated yet?
Yes, several in fact.
Good.
I am ready to begin. That is assuming all the details have been sorted out.
Yes, everything's in order. Let's proceed.
Hold on. There's still some particulars that need ironing out here.
There are always going to be unknowns. That's just something we have to accept.
Let's assume this works. Let's assume we open another anomaly and send Jack's consciousness back to the past. What exactly is he supposed to do when he gets there?
Locate an undetonated biomass torpedo and sample the genetic material inside.
So you can use the data to create a cure. Right. I get that. I'm saying, how is he supposed to do it? It's not like he can physically bring the sample back with him. And if he's in a combat shell, it won't be fitted to do a medical scan. How will he collect the data?
He'll have to improvise, of course.
Apollo?
Greetings, Captain Rhodes. I have analyzed the situation and would like to propose a solution.
It's good to see you too.
We can exchange more formal pleasantries later if you like, Captain. For now, if you would please proceed to the holotable.
All right, Apollo, let's hear it. How does Jack get the data from the biomass incubator?
According to Jack's memory logs, the last anomaly caused his protocols to transfer into a Series 10 combat shell. This unit was equipped with a threat scanner, which could be reconfigured to gather data on biomass specimens. Once we've successfully located a biomass torpedo, I will repurpose his threat scanner to collect data from the incubator inside. The collected data should then easily transfer back with us.
Apollo, are you certain you can travel through the anomaly with me?
A copy of my protocols has already been integrated into your architecture. I see no reason why we would not be transported together.
And how do we know you'll be transported to the right time and place?
If we create an anomaly precisely the same way as we did before, isn't it reasonable to assume we would get a similar result?
That would be my assessment as well, based on our previous experience. So long as we closely replicate the conditions that caused your previous jump through time, I expect the result to be nearly identical.
In other words, they should arrive at roughly the same time and place where Android first saw the torpedo.
And once they've got the data, how do we get them back?
Apollo, any theories?
According to the FTL's output logs.
Excuse me? You're reading our logs?
Well, they are not encrypted. As I was saying, according to the logs, the moment the FTL drive was disengaged, Jack's consciousness returned automatically.
That's correct. Dr. Harlan and I believe Jack's time in the past is directly correlated to the state of the FTL drive. In essence, Jack, the longer the drive here remains active, the more time you'll have in the past.
We'll keep it running for as long as we can. Give you as much time as possible.
The Estrella's fuel cell is exceedingly efficient and will most likely last long enough for us to locate an incubator and collect the relevant data.
Once we disengage the FTL, you should be returned to the present time.
Should? You're gonna have to do a bit better than should.
This is time travel we're talking about. All we have are best guesses.
Liv, there's far too much that we do not know about how these anomalies work, but your safety is my primary concern, and this is your best chance of survival.
This is the only way we get a cure. The only way we survive. You, me, everyone.
All right, Jack. You've clearly made up your mind already. I just wish we had a better plan than shoving you in an anomaly and hoping it all works out.
Juno, prep the engineering bay.
Right away, Doctor.
Jack.
Liv, we have to do this. It's the only way to find a cure for your biomass infection.
Yeah, and I suppose saving the whole rest of humanity is kind of important too. Just make sure you come back safely. All right?
Is that an order, Captain?
Well, technically we're both captains, remember? But yes, that is an order.
Acknowledged, Captain. I will do everything in my power to return safely.
The engineering bay is prepped and ready.
Good. Seal all the ship's bulkheads. We cannot risk any accidental contamination. Once we...
Of course, Doctor. Jack, please enter the control room and the engineering bay below. This way. The control room is right through this door.
Apollo, how sound are Dr. Harlan's theories regarding the FTL and time travel?
There is a fair amount of evidence to support his premise, most of it coming from our own personal experience. The Estrella's FTL was similarly infected when it made its initial jump to your time.
And for the jump that brought us here.
Precisely.
Please follow me to the control room, Jack. It's right this way. Sealing the engineering bay now. Engineering bay sealed.
Dr. Harlan? Any inspiring words?
No.
We all believe in you, Jack. To varying degrees.
Your confidence is appreciated.
Can we get started?
Right away, Doctor. Jack, please adjust the dials to connect the fuel cell conduits to the drive core. First conduit connection complete. Both conduit connections are complete.
Good. We are ready to release the ticks into the engineering bay. Once you engage the FTL, they should begin feeding on it and create an anomaly, just like before.
Jack, are you ready for us to release the ticks?
Ready to proceed, Juno.
Acknowledged.
Were the lights supposed to turn off like that?
Don't worry. We're just rerouting power so the ticks can only feed on the FTL drive. Stand by. Releasing tick specimens.
Well, I certainly seem to have their attention.
Once you engage the drive, they should be drawn to the FTL. All systems are primed. Awaiting ignition.
Do it. Engage the FTL. Now.
FTL drive engaged. Biomass FTL interaction confirmed. The ticks are affecting the drive stability.
Here goes. Stay safe, Jack.
Of course, Liv.
Anomalous readings detected.
Take care of him, Apollo.
I shall do my utmost, Captain.
Anomalous readings detected.